Oh, my dick didn't work either.
What?
Dick was. It didn't matter if you put.
Wait a minite.
Dick did not work.
Wait a minute. While you were on testosterone?
Yeah, and
that makes no sense.
It does though. It does though, because you're.
What's up, guys? Derek, moreplates188.com. Today we are going to be reacting to the Joe Rogan episode with Brendan Schaub that came out recently. A bunch of you guys tagged me, DM'd me, private messaged me, YouTube comments, like all over the place, emails, and let me know that I was mentioned in the podcast, and I appreciate it. I'm actually hoping to go down there at some point soon-ish, pending that travel restrictions kind of chill out a bit, because they're actually getting worse, to be honest. Like, even relatively recently they already sucked, but now they're even more problematic. So hopefully they loosen up soonish and we can make it happen where I go down there. But anyways, I'm going to be reacting to the part after I was mentioned that I actually thought was worth touching on, because Brendan Schaub touches on his HRT experience and how he basically just had his dick stop working entirely. So a bunch of people were commenting on that part too, and I felt like it was a good part to react to, and some educational insight that can be brought to light, because this is so common for guys to get on a protocol and then have either, uptick in sense of well-being, performance, etc., and then it kind of like dive bombs, or they just start and they get worse, or a myriad of different things. And often it is the mismanagement of your protocol, or having a guy who's just not smart enough to fucking figure out how to give you a proper one. So anyways, we're gonna go from here, and I'll give my commentary throughout.
Look at the size of them.
Yeah, I mean, what? But why not?
Why not?
Dude, wait till I get on that same shit you're on. Wait till I fucking...
But you did it for a little bit. Why'd you stop?
TRT?
Yeah.
My face, I got moon face.
Well, that's just food.
Yeah, but my body didn't react well to it.
So as far as moon face, yeah, that is definitely a side effect, is increased water retention. But when you're using a therapeutic replacement amount, it's not really that problematic if you are managing your estrogen conversion appropriately with administration frequency, not being too fat, etc. At the end of the day, it largely does boil down to diet and how lean you are when it comes to fluid management, and as well as just your face bloat. So frankly, to me, this seems like it was more exacerbating an existing, like, being a little lax on his diet. And all of us have experienced the bloated face. Even me right now on HRT, I have a way bigger face than I usually do, because I'm actually going through a phase where I'm like bulking up, quote unquote, just eating a shit ton more food to kind of reset my metabolism a bit, more so my ghrelin and leptin levels, so I can dig into an aggressive deficit come this summer and it not be unsustainable, because I was getting to the point where it was like distracting and annoying to be in a deficit. But anyways, that's a separate tangent. So anyways, getting back to it, the bloated face thing, that is something that can be fixed easily.
At all.
Interesting.
Yeah. I got like really big, but not like cool big. I should get like my clothes didn't fit. My neck was all fat and I was sweating all the time.
That's interesting.
I was like snapping on people.
Was your body, maybe you're taking too much, man.
I think if he's snapping on people, that would probably be a sign of using too much, potentially, yeah. And as well as hormone imbalances are largely going to regulate your mood. So if you are aggressively dosing with a bolus amount at once, let's just say you're doing an idiotic protocol, that is often not your fault, but like the doctor tells you, you know what, we're going to do 200 milligrams once every 2 weeks. And then you get a fat mega shot once every 2 weeks. And after that shot, you're just an aggressive, pissed off motherfucker. You have this giant spike in testosterone, giant spike in estrogen, giant spike in DHT. And then throughout the next week or two, your levels crash into the fucking abyss. And you get massive, mood swings, massive dysregulated, even just like emotional response to things. You can't logically respond to things in a reasonable way when your hormones are all fucked up and all over the place. It's impossible to actually be yourself and have a properly regulated mental state, essentially.
So
who's giving you this shit?
Doctor.
What did the doctor say? All you want.
Yeah.
Just take a
do whatever you want, man. I'll send what you
syringe.
need. Yeah.
Go all the way in.
I don't need it though right now. I'm good right now.
Okay.
I'm on a diet. My energy's good. My dick
been
works.
biking
Oh,
a
my
lot,
dick
right?
didn't work either.
What?
Dick was it didn't matter if you put
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
dick did not work.
Wait a minute.
So this is like one of the reasons people get on TRT is because it's not working, not the other way around. So like this screams mismanagement of protocol. Like this is just like screams bad practice when this guy is getting on and he is experiencing all the negatives and none of the positives, and things are going from like decent to worse.
While you were on testosterone?
Yeah, and
That makes no sense.
it does though. It does
Why?
though, because your body, the way it reacts, your testicles shut down. So also my sperm count. There's a few guys that TRT and testosterone, synthetic testosterone, destroys your sperm count.
So he's somehow extrapolating that his sperm count going down because his HPTA is shut down is the reason why his dick doesn't function correctly, which is a totally different mechanism going on. Like you taking exogenous hormones is going to provide negative feedback to your hypothalamus, which will then prevent you from producing gonadotropin releasing hormone, which will then prevent your pituitary from making luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. As a result of that, downstream in your actual testicles, you will not have Leydig cells being stimulated by LH. You will not have Sertoli cells being stimulated by FSH, hence having a crash in your sperm production. However, this does not regulate your actual function of getting a hard-on. This is totally irrelevant. The fact that you had problems getting a hard-on just basically means your protocol sucked for your individual needs at the end of the day.
So my wife was trying to get pregnant, and I was on TRT, so I had to go jack off in a cup. So embarrassing. Jacked off in the cup. Holla. They're like, if you over here, and here's the VHS with the porn. I was like, bitch,
Did they
it's
give you
2020, dude.
I got a phone.
Yeah, I was like, hey, let's get out of here. So jacked
They
off in
have
the
like
cup.
a porn collection.
Oh, dude, a whole
at
catalog.
the jack off place.
Yeah, just old bushes and fucking nightmare. So I used my phone. Anyway, jacked off into the into the cup, and they're like, yeah, you have no sperm. Are you on? And the doctor goes, you're on TRT. I was like, you fucking tell me, doc. He's like, yeah, whatever, dude. Your sperm's not working.
So did you?
So yeah, again, this has nothing to do with your actual functionality itself. This is, like your sperm production is low because you have no LH and FSH, but your functionality would be on point, like equivalent to that of a man's young 20s if you actually had a dialed-in protocol that was based on your own body and your own individual aromatization rates, frequency of administration based on your sex hormone binding globulin levels, etc.
Get on clomiphene or something like that?
Yeah, to do all that stuff.
Right,
And then,
to just reboost
Yeah.
your testosterone production.
Yeah.
What about what is that called?
So he basically did a post-cycle therapy, which is like something a lot of bodybuilders would do after a cycle in order to restore, basically kickstart his HPTA and get, the luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone spiked up and recover as quickly as possible. Obviously a common practice that a lot of you guys are familiar with. And it's just interesting how he would go on TRT, experience a bloated face, ED, basically everything under the sun that shows that your protocol is not designed well, and then try and PCT with toxic shitty for you drugs essentially in order to get back to natural status. It's like, I don't know, man.
Called HCG.
HCG, yep.
Yeah.
Use some of that, injected some of that.
And that it just jacks up your testosterone production,
Yep,
right?
I used all that to get back, and then I feel good, man. I'm just trying to get lean. I don't get.
So it sounded like he kind of was like, did you really need the TRT? Like, were you actually clinically hypogonadal? Probably not. He probably just wanted to kind of optimize, which is obviously a personal decision. I guess maybe at the end of the day, he decided that he didn't really want it that bad. And obviously trying to figure out how to dial in his protocol wasn't, a high priority for him. So he ended up using a HCG, which is something you would use to stimulate the Leydig cells to produce intratesticular testosterone, which is essentially what your luteinizing hormone would otherwise do if you were producing it properly. But when you're on TRT and you shut yourself down, you have no LH, so then you would take HCG, kickstart that intratesticular testosterone production, and then the Clomid, he was using it presumably to occupy estrogen receptors selectively as a SERM, which then provides negative feedback to the prevents the negative feedback to the HPTA, which would then kick up GnRH production, increase the luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone downstream, and then, basically get him on the fast track to natural recovery as soon as possible, which is, 2 compounds that are relatively commonly used in the bodybuilding community as well as just in the HRT space. Actually, lesser so in the HRT space, because most people who are on TRT presumably are on it for life. They're not trying to go on and then come off in PCT. That's more of a bodybuilder thing.
You're doing a lot of biking, right?
Tons of biking.
Yeah, you really like that, huh?
Love it. Obsessed
Better
with
for
it.
you.
Okay, so I think that was pretty much it from the HRT standpoint. But as far as why the guy had such a bad experience, at the end of the day, I can almost guarantee he had a doctor who was either dosing him at a just ridiculous interval at some dosage amount that was just too problematic for him to handle all at once in a bolus amount. It's not very uncommon for doctors to still prescribe long ester compounds, long ester testosterone, to be injected at a frequency of once a week, once every 2 weeks. Even in Europe, they're prescribing sustanon injections once every 3 weeks or something fucking insane. There are a lot of doctors who just have no idea what the pharmacokinetic profile is of what they're prescribing. They'll just use, some old, reference point of dosage frequency and then tell you you're going to be fine with this, when in reality, it's just not based on good science whatsoever. And you end up having a giant spike of testosterone into super physiological territory and then a giant crash. And you're just going up and down and up and down. Your hormones are all over the fucking place. You get wild amounts of side effects. And then on top of that, the likelihood, I assume, is high that his doctor may have also put him haphazardly on a aromatase inhibitor without even knowing if he needed it. A lot of doctors are literally compounding Arimidex into their testosterone nowadays, which is fucking idiotic. So he may have had crashed estrogen. He may have had high estrogen. We don't really know. At the end of the day, I know one of those 2 scenarios is very likely, though. He had a significant amount of bloating, so his dose might have been too high, presumably. Maybe he had a lot of estrogen conversion too, that might have contributed to it. At the end of the day, some of the high estrogen and low estrogen symptoms can often overlap to some extent, it's if you're not in the sweet spot for estrogen relative to your testosterone production or your testosterone you're administering, you're going to have issues down there, and it becomes pretty obvious when you're not really dialed in. If you have high estrogen, it's going to be problematic. If you have low estrogen, it's sometimes even more obviously problematic, because it's just your sense of well-being is crashed. You're fucking depressed. Everything's dry and achy. You have no desire at all. At least estrogen drives sexual function as well as libido. So when you have low estrogen, that's a red flag too, is if you have no desire whatsoever, your aromatase inhibitor dose is probably too high, or you shouldn't be on one to begin with. So with him, the likelihood is probably high. He just had way too high of a dose or too infrequent of a bolus being used at once, spikes him into super physiological territory, dick stops working, gets bloated, all of the negative side effects that come from using too much all at once, and then maybe potentially crashing down later into the week if he was doing it really infrequently. Or maybe he was using an aromatase inhibitor that was also after his giant spike, slashing his estrogen production into the ground, being all over the map. There's no way for me to know for sure without seeing his actual blood work. But at the end of the day, these symptoms line up exactly with somebody who does not have a dialed in protocol and otherwise could have just probably fixed it by either, presumably by, maybe getting a more ideal diet and lifestyle dialed in is obviously going to help inhibit a significant amount of the aromatization that otherwise would take place just inherently. But above and beyond that, the protocol itself, having a more reasonable frequency of administration to keep blood serum levels a bit more stable, and not proactively using an aromatase inhibitor if not needed. Those would be the 2 main things that, come to top of mind. In addition to that, obviously his dosage could have been too high too, concurrently with all those other things. Maybe he was getting prescribed HCG on top of that, and then it becomes even more problematic to speculate, without seeing actual blood work and actually getting a sense of how you respond to one thing at a time, how you are going to produce the testosterone from the HCG on top of the exogenous testosterone you're administering and the concurrent estrogenic activity, and trying to figure out where your dialed in sweet spot is with the 2, because a lot of HRT clinics are prescribing HCG to literally everyone who comes in because they want to make margin on even more products and sell you as many things as possible, even if you don't need it necessarily. So there's a lot of different factors that could have contributed to this, but obviously Joe's speculation on this is spot on, that something was wrong in the protocol, and it was not, this is not something that is supposed to happen, and Schaub should have I feel like if he was serious about it, probably should have tried to dial it in before he just abandoned it entirely and then pursued a pull cycle therapy, because he probably just needed a couple, a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of blood work, a little bit of insight by somebody who knows what they are looking at. And that probably could have resolved the whole thing. So anyways, that is my stance on Brendan Schaub's HRT experience. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_more_dates. Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below, including my TRT clinic. It's all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home. We have qualified patient care coordinators and doctors who I've vetted myself personally, who understand this stuff in elaborate detail and stay completely up to date on the most recent academic literature on this kind of stuff and know how to manage hormone profiles in a responsible and intelligent way, and will not make you get fucking ED when you go in without ED. Can you imagine how poor of a fucking experience you would have from HRT? You're going in not even hypogonadal and you end up worse than you fucking came in. So I feel for this guy, but he definitely needed somebody better on his side giving him insight. So anyways, if you're interested in that, link in the description below, as well as my recommended lab test panels that I've designed myself and anything else I'm associated with. It's all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.